titles, just everything's been a win.
Really has, man. It's been a while since like a full blown show, like prepared show.
Yeah, normally we just wing it.
Well, I mean, I quit sending outlines to you guys because I knew nobody was ever looking at them.
Oh,
So
hold on, buddy. I always have
Whoa,
an outline up.
I need you to please keep sending those outlines.
Like, share, subscribe, everybody.
All the above.
You know what you guys need to do.
America, go to the YouTube right now.
good idea.
Subscribe.
Mm,
I mean, we got a lot of breaking news today,
lot,
boys.
a lot, dude. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got a good show. I'm very excited.
I tell you
I've really
what,
been looking forward
there
to
is
it.
something down in the water in San Marcos, Texas, boys
Mm.
and girls. Might be the favorite back up in the West now. I don't know. We'll talk about it.
Dude, we don't need to talk about this on the show, but I'll talk about it now. Um,
We got
breaking news: Tyreek Hill is being sued for battery, assault, and negligence after breaking a woman's leg during a backyard football lesson at his Florida home.
Are you kidding me?
Influencer Sophie Hall says that Hill charged at her with, quote, crushing force after she managed to, quote, hold her own and knock him backward during football drills. The hit by Hill knocked her to the ground and resulted in her leg being broken. I have a lot of questions.
A lot of questions.
Why are we doing private one-on football lessons with a social media influencer in your backyard? And why? Oh.
Joe
Oh,
Judkins,
no.
how are you, sir? Guys, if you're tuning in, we hadn't quite started the show yet. Hop over to YouTube, subscribe, like, get in that live chat. Oh, I want to see a nice, good live chat going today on this episode. But yeah, the guy's nickname is the Cheetah, Sprouse. Why are you doing football drills with the guy?
Apparently it says right here her son signed up for his football camp. So it sounds like a little, maybe a little I don't want to speculate, but I think they call that quid pro quo. I think when you do a harassment training, and if I were to just go out on a limb, maybe the kid's getting a free invite to the camp or something. So they did a free lesson at the house.
Interesting.
Anyway, I'm not an expert in things like that, though.
Yeah, I thought quid pro quo is when you give seminars, you get paid $2 million, you know nothing about what you're talking about, and then later political favors get done over in Ukraine and all these other countries.
Whoa, Jeff, come on, man. Essentially, though, yeah, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, is what it is, right?
Funny thing about my back.
Yeah.
Really kick this off or what?
I'm waiting on you to quit talking politics before we get shut off the air.
No, they won't shut us off yet.
It's an election year, buddy. You better be real careful about the things you say on here.
It's true. Keep my thoughts to myself. All right. Ready to go?
Tell me when, my friend. Good evening. Happy Tuesday. Welcome in to the world's greatest Group of Five football podcast ever. This is the Group of Five Guys. We are the Group of Five Guys. If you're new here, if this is your first time watching or you don't know who we are, our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs that we all know the mainstream sports media just absolutely will not do. We need everybody's help to do it. Before we go any further, subscribe to the YouTube channel or Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcast. Follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of Five Guys. That's Twitter or X, Instagram, and Facebook. Most importantly, tell your family and friends all about us. On this special 100th edition of the Group of Five Guys podcast. We got a lot of breaking news. We're going to talk about the new 5+7 playoff format. We're going to talk about more coaches on the move, going to and from, more big-time transfers, breaking news, and we're going to celebrate the 100th episode of Group of Five Guys, talking about our favorite moments along the way. Really hope you enjoy the show. Have you had it from somebody born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana, at a tailgate? Doubt it.
I said Michael Pratt has got to show up and play, and boy did he. 394 yards, 4 touchdowns, 48 rushing yards on the ground, and another touchdown.
Projected getting drafted between the first and third round. Like, that's incredible.
That's
the wide receivers are absolutely stacked for the Group of Five.
Yeah, I really appreciate you do for the Group of Five programs, and I think it's great. I think we should get more of this. But you guys are on the forefront of this, and
so I'm thankful for this. I'm glad that you're talking about the Group of Five because I think they get overlooked.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
Hey, fellas, real quick, if you guys don't mind, I know this is going to be a fun, celebratory episode, but I do want to say real quick, listeners and you guys, Jeff and Tip. So old Mrs. Sprouse, Mama Sprouse, is actually starting her second bout with the old cancer, starting chemo tomorrow. So just, for those of you, well, everybody, say your prayers, just keep old Mrs. Sprouse in your thoughts. She's been going through it, dude. So I know she'll make it out strong. Well, I mean, here's the deal. I mean, you guys know a little bit of it. Anybody that has to have put up with my ass for the years, a couple sessions of chemo is not gonna take anybody down. But yeah, certainly you guys know I'm not the somber one, but just keep my mom in thoughts and prayers here in the next few weeks and few months.
Absolutely, we love you, Mama Sprouse.
Anyway. Cam Newton.
Oh, boy.
What are we doing? Tip, did you see this? Murph, you saw it.
I saw it.
I did not.
So maybe I thought this was – so Cam Newton
Are you talking about the fight?
Yeah.
Okay, I did see that.
Yeah. Well, so apparently for those of you that don't know, Cam Newton, I guess he coaches, or I'm sure it's probably more like he funds a 7-on-7 football team, and they had a tournament I think it was in Atlanta. And two of the coaches from another team get to talk. They all get to talking trash, and they get to fighting each other. And now I will say this, for those of you that are not Cam Newton, welcome to the world of a professional athlete. Okay. Anybody that thinks that like these are just regular Joes, I mean, Cam Newton, first of all, like the guy was bigger than and more athletic than everybody else when he was at Auburn. And then he continued to be that way for a little while in the NFL. So this is not like a guy, like I was bigger than everybody in high school and then get to college and it evens up. Cam Newton was always bigger and stronger than everybody. So it's like, but I mean, my thing on this is, okay, first of all, these 7-on-7 camps are just like we're getting so far away from what is actually beneficial to playing football. But then also, like, I don't know the details. Those guys are saying Cam Newton was like starting it with talking trash, which, duh. I mean, if you've ever seen the guy on his little podcast, the guy's a professional trash talker. But at the same time, it's like you have been given the privilege of being an influence on high school kids and probably younger kids. And like, a lot of the commentary on it was that it was not in like a nicer, this is maybe some underprivileged kids. And that's why Cam Newton's involved with this. So like, you got kids that are coming from tough backgrounds. Probably a bunch of them, have no father figure around. And so these coaches are that the example, the influence on these kids. And you're fighting over 7-on-7 football in February. I mean, it's just like, and then you're taking these kids' money and these kids' families' money to join these teams and to travel to these things, because I'm sure you're selling them on a dream. You're going to push them. You're going to make them D1. And then you're fighting Cam Newton, who does not have to be there, by the way. So, like, I don't want to make this defending Cam Newton, because I know that guy, he's, says some off-the-wall things sometimes, but it's like, it's just, where are we as a people, man?
It's wild. And I agree with you. Like, I'm sure Cam was doing that to help out whatever tournament that was. Definitely did not have to be there. Doesn't have to take time out of that guy's out of his schedule to go and do that. So the fact that you would even like think that was a good idea. And here's the other thing. I mean, all things aside, if you're gonna go at a dude that's 6'5", 6'6", 240, like,
yes.
I mean, learn how to throw a punch, my guy. I mean, my goodness.
You know what it is, Jeff? You know what it is,
got?
and we had this a little bit in Murfreesboro, not a ton. But when you go to a bar and there's somebody in the bar that's either like, you see this a lot, like if you see somebody that's got like the cauliflower, like wrestling ears, and some idiot feels like he's got to prove himself as a man and is going to try to attempt to like fight the baddest man at the bar. It's like people would do this, and when we'd be out in Murfreesboro or whatever, you'd see some local that wants to show off to a little girl or something like that. Like, oh, I'm gonna go fight the biggest football player in here, unbeknownst to him that there's 40 others in the same bar hanging out. But it's like, yeah, what are you doing? Like, what are you trying to prove right there? And then I'm gonna tie this all into Group of Five here, guys, and tie this into college football in general. These guys. These coaches that are at these 7-on-7 camps that are taking it way too seriously. It's not they're not full-time coaches. They're not getting paid, a living to coach. So they're just doing it mainly probably because they never played past high school at the most, probably not even varsity high school football, most of them. But these are the guys that are in these kids' ears when it comes to, oh man, yeah, you got to transfer. Oh, you got NIL, go get your bag at this school, at that school. And it's like, these are the kind of people that we are allowing to influence our youths. And I got a problem with it. I got a big problem with it.
It's bad advice.
But either way, Cam Newton.
You didn't take on Cam Newton.
I underestimated that young man. I mean, he's still got it. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets signed after seeing that. I mean, that's the best tape he's had in a decade.
Ain't no doubt. Some explosion in there. He still had a little bit in the tank.
He definitely did. He wasn't even phased.
It was kind of the ones where, you got your little brother and you're just kind of holding his head and he's just kind of swinging. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it was like funny and everybody's kind of making a joke out of it. But at the same time, it's like, man, come on, guys, grow up a little bit,
Yeah.
But anyway, what else we got? Early signing period. G.J. Kinney. Is this guy the best recruiter in Group of Five football history?
I mean, he's got to be up there. I mean, this guy has the ability to sell his program like nobody I've seen in the last couple of years. I mean, goes to Texas State. It's been a place where nobody really wants to go. He has probably the most transfers, I think, out of anybody besides, Charlotte was up there last year. I mean, you get all these transfers to come into Texas State, have a great year last year. Some guys leave. The whole Delora situation happens. Finley leaves. Delora gets, forced out of school. And then you get Jordan McLeod, one of the best quarterbacks in the Sun Belt.
Tip, let me ask you this question. All things aside, let's say you're drafting your college football program and you're picking a quarterback. All things aside, and you have Finley, Hornsby, McLeod, and Delora. I mean, it seems like
McLeod.
He's left
That's
with
right,
the best
that's
one.
The right answer. Yeah, I agree. It's like we were talking about it before the show. It's like I feel like it's one of those situations of like kind of like everything happens for a reason type deal. But
Mm-hmm.
just for him to be able to essentially have 4 different quarterbacks in the last 30 days and has been able to bring in one of, if not the hottest quarterback in the transfer portal. Massive get for Texas State.
And now right back in the mix as probably for sure one of the top 2 or 3 in the West.
Has to be. I mean, the thing is, you don't just. It's not like they brought in Finley last year, right? And he had some tape, but he didn't have like a full year under his belt. He'd been at Auburn, right? You're getting a guy that's proven was one of the top quarterbacks in the conference.
Yeah.
3,600 yards, 35 passing TDs, 10 picks, 8 more on the ground. I want to see this guy in the backfield with Ishmael Mahdi. I mean, you talk about a hell of a backfield right there. You gotta account for both. McLeod didn't have a lot of yards, but man, he can run. He's athletic.
Yeah.
He can get outside, and he makes you honest on the backside. That's the biggest thing. And I'm not saying that Finley couldn't, and Finley was a long strider. He could get out, but I'm interested to see what Kenny does with McLeod. Fired up for the Bobcats. I know our boy Creme Brulee is fired up.
He's back. Yeah, he's back. I haven't seen a lot of his action on Twitter lately, but he was fired up today for sure. But I mean, yeah, if they can figure out a respectable defense, I mean, they're gonna be a big problem. They are gonna be a big problem in the West, and they've got that gigantic non-conference matchup week 2 at home versus the Roadrunners of Texas San Antonio. So
it's exactly what Jamie Viejo, and I hope I pronounced your last name right, Jamie, in the chat said. He said that game is going to be cranked up.
Everyone start checking the old calendars, boys.
I mean, I don't know how
it's gonna be tough. I know.
We gotta get down there. We gotta get down there for that game.
I just want to see the AD swan dive into the river after if they're able to pull off the W on that thing. Let's keep it in the Sun Belt. So it's been a little bit since we've been on here. Sean Elliott, head coach at Georgia State, goes to take the tight end job at South Carolina. And then Georgia State goes and gets what on paper looks like a home run in Dell McGee, getting a Georgia guy, kind of almost taking that recipe of what some of these Texas schools have been doing. But in the state of Georgia with Dell McGee, he's been at, he was at Georgia Southern for a little bit. He's been at Georgia. He's just a Georgia guy. And now you put him right in the heart of Atlanta in a really fertile recruiting ground. So look out. All I can do is just beg the people of Atlanta and the students of Georgia State and the alumni of Georgia State to go support that team, man. They've deserved it for a long time. They've been a good team for a long time. And they deserve some support. But I do want to talk about this a little bit because, again, everybody's been panicking because you've had a bunch of Group of 5 head coaches go take Power 5 assistant jobs. And I've been guilty of thinking like, oh, it's just Bama and Ohio State that they're going to. They're not. But he goes to South Carolina. Now, at the same time, the guy that they hired was a Power 5 assistant and now just became a Group of 5 head coach. So do we think that there is a problem? What is the problem? And, what are y'all's thoughts on that?
Tip, you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. So, I mean, I think it just depends on the coach, right? And ultimately what their end goal is. You have some of these guys that their end goal might be that they want to be a head coach in a team in the SEC or the Big Ten, for example. And if that is their end goal, one of the best ways to reach that goal is to get into a program of one of the teams in those conferences. Now, that's not the narrative for every single coach out there. A lot of these guys just want an opportunity to be a head coach on any team on the college level, right? So, it just depends on what their goals and what their, what their thoughts are and what they want to do as far as their coaching goes. I don't know for sure about Coach Elliott, but this could potentially lead him to want to maybe move up to a coordinator position after this in the SEC or Big Ten, or maybe he comes back to the Group of 5. Who knows? But he obviously saw some type of opportunity for whatever his end goal is, to take this job at South Carolina.
Well, he's from in that particular case, he's from South Carolina, or at least has been there for a while. So like that's something I don't think, and I'm guilty of not thinking about this. A lot of these guys, the more we've been having these, one-on-one off the record conversations with a lot of these coaches all over the place, it's like a lot of them, they take a job and their family stays wherever they were. So if you've got a high school, let's say, and I don't know if this is the case at all, but let's say, a guy like Sean Elliott's living in South Carolina. He's got kids that are, 8th grade, 9th grade. So they've got their friends, they've got their routine, they're happy there, etc. But he wants to become a head coach, so he takes a head coaching job. And his family stays behind. Well, now, if it's been a few years, maybe now, like, you got a kid, it's his senior year in high school. You want to be able to watch him play. And so if the money is the same or probably more, and you can get to be around your family, it's more, quote, home. It's something that we don't think about all the time with these coaches leaving. A lot of times it's about the money, but here's what I think, Jeff, is I think they just don't want to be head coaches anymore, regardless of the level. And I think that's why you get a Chip Kelly that goes from a Power 5 UCLA to go be a coordinator. I think that this NIL stuff and the nonstop recruiting, we've got like 3 signing days. They're about to add another one, and the portal. I think these head coaches are just like, I think they're working, 23 hours a day just recruiting at this point. So I think they just don't want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, every situation is different, and it's hard to put like a blanket reason, over everything. I think the family's a good aspect that it gets overlooked, but I'm kind of there. That's where I'm there with it. I think that it's becoming so much of a headache, especially at the Group of 5 level, that like you're constantly just getting like poached. You're constantly just having people, knocking on your players' doors and calling their cell phones. Like it's almost like you're defending your home every single day. It used to be just in the building, and now like you're having to fight off, just people, from the outside in now. So it's like, I'm making decent money as a head coach. I wanted to be a head coach, but I can go be a coordinator here and just have to worry about my position room, for the most part. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And I think you got some people that are trying to preemptively like get a foothold with all this, conference realignment stuff, the way everything's kind of looking and heading. If I can get a position, job at an SEC school or a Big Ten school, I'm in there. So naturally, eventually when all this happens, like I'm set, I'm in this room, I'm in this pocket, so to speak. So like, I think some of that's too, and it could be a combination of a couple things. So I don't think it's just one thing, but it's gonna be interesting to see, how it all plays out. But here's the thing though, guys leave, and it's opportunity for younger, hungry people who want that opportunity. So
That's right.
I think in the grand scheme of things, Group of 5 is going to be fine.
This could have just been a timing thing, though, right? It's like it just seems like this offseason we saw more instances of this, right? Of these head coaches at the Group of 5 level kind of going to different position coaches. It could have been Sprouse, I think you mentioned it on a previous episode. It could have just been like the entire like Nick Saban effect. Like once that happened, it was just that's when the domino effect happened of all these new coaches of these schools reaching out to these other head coaches, asking them to, fill a position, coaching position or whatever. So, I don't know if that is the case, because I also think that NIL and the amount of work that has to be done as a head coach definitely has a lot to do with it. But it just seems like this offseason more than previous, we saw it happen more often.
No, I agree. And 2 things, and then we'll move on. I definitely agree it's the Saban effect, because here's the deal too is, when Saban was there, they were rolling through coordinators every year because they would all go get a job, but you always knew the next coordinator was going to be, Bill O'Brien, Steve. It was going to be like the big name, it was going to be the coordinator, or it was going to be like a retread of somebody that's been there before, or a Belichick guy or something like that, where now you get a whole new staff in there. And I think some of these young guys are thinking like, hey, man, this is an opportunity to coach at Bama. And I know, we're the group of five guys. We ride for the group of five. We say it all the time. I'm not afraid to tell you that Bama is a different program. Bama is Power Five. Ohio State is Power Five. Georgia is Power Five. South Carolina, I don't know. But he's from there.
Beat by Jacksonville State last year.
Well, and here's my second thing on that, and the last thing on that is especially specific to Georgia State. You got a guy that's super energetic like Sean Elliott, who works his ass off for those players. And I cannot imagine how disheartening it is to do all that and then to show up on Saturday and nobody's there for you. So, like, you combine, like you said, Jeff, or one of y'all said, like, you're having to just, like, fight your ass off to keep guys to like, protect your house, what you're building, and then you're not getting support. Like it makes me think, it reminds me of, like, the movie Gladiator, right? Like, those guys are willing to die for the crowd. But, like, when there's no crowd there, they don't care. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that's exactly what Joe Judkins said in the live chat. He says, I think Elliott was tired of the lack of support there, putting in all those man hours, and then just the community, probably the school just doesn't get behind him.
It does suck because we were about to go up there and interview him.
I know.
we were like scheduling dates, and then all of a sudden the news broke. It's like, whoa, that's interesting. Other news on the coaching carousel. Dirk Cutter. Did y'all see this? Offensive coordinator to Boise State. You remember Dirk Cutter? A lot of NFL experience, been around. And he coached Jameis Winston wasn't he there for the Florida State Jameis Winston days? Or something like that. Or maybe they but anyway, dude, Boise is just
watch out.
Yeah, they are going to be explosive. I mean, them bringing back Genty alone was a huge win in the offseason.
Yep.
But then you go get the quarterback. They still kept Maddox Madsen, so he's still there. And then they went and got Malachi Nelson, number 1 recruit in the country from a year ago. And now you go get Dirk Cutter to call plays.
Yeah, been in the NFL for most of the handful of years as an offensive coordinator, offensive analyst, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Jacksonville. That guy's seen a lot.
Seen a lot of things.
To see how the Boise offense looks.
Yeah. Well, Boise State's got to be one of the favorites to get this 5th spot, because we know it's so 5+7 playoff format. So here's what it is. Let me just try to simplify it, because I was listening to a couple podcasts on my drive back from Murfreesboro on Saturday, and
Paul Feinbaum, was he one of them?
No, dude, I can't listen to that guy. I can't listen to people with like a 3rd grade education calling me, telling why their particular SEC school is the best. And then Feinbaum, I mean, honestly, the guy, credit to him, he literally just like sits there for the length of his show. I don't know how long his show is, and he just lets these people make a fool out of themselves, and apparently it makes for great ratings. But anyway, so 5+7. So what you're going to get is the top 5 ranked conference champions plus 7 at-large teams. So one of those 5 is going to have to be Group of 5, with the Pac-12 not being there anymore. Your top 4 conference champions are going to get a bye week. And then your 5 through 12 are going to play on campus, with 5 hosting 12, 6 hosting 11, etc. So, and then also your independent. So Notre Dame cannot be top 4. So you cannot be top 4 without winning your conference. So initial thoughts, questions, concerns?
My biggest issues with this, one being Notre Dame, is based off of their reputation alone, they're going to be automatically in every year unless they're just like 500, which I think is a joke, because they're not in a conference. They can pick their schedule, whoever they want, and their reputation from, honestly, 40, 50 years ago is still like carrying them to this day. So I don't like that, number 1, because I think it takes away a deserving spot. Now, if they're running the table, so be it. But I just wait they're going to be like 7-5, and
No, they're
they'll
not
get
getting it
in.
at 7 and
Watch,
5.
watch, dude. I'm telling
Honestly,
you.
I looked at
they'll
their
be number
schedule.
11.
Their schedule is not very impressive this year. But you know what I find funny about that, Jeff, is Notre Dame still gets the benefit of the doubt, even though we now have multiple examples of them getting smoked anytime they get into the playoff or in a BCS bowl game. They've gotten crushed on multiple occasions, and yet they're still there every year. Meanwhile, in Lynchburg, Virginia, or in other places in the Group of Five, you lose once by a large margin, and it's never again. You'll never see it again.
Well,
So
CBS has Liberty right now in their mock as the 12th team for next year. So we'll see how that shakes out.
And I want to say something too to all the people that got all worked up when we tried to tell everybody that you need to root for Liberty against Oregon, and they all said, "I'll never root for Liberty." Blah blah blah. Jerry Falwell. Blah blah blah. Every buzzword in politics you ever heard of. But like, I'm not saying it would have changed the outcome, but Liberty getting beat the way they did, it hurts the rest of us. It just does. When we go into this thing this year, they're not going to let two teams be in, and there could have been two teams had Liberty put on a better showing.
Yeah, and basically the Group of 5 team is going to be regulated to the 12th spot, so they'll be playing number 5. Unless somehow, well, I was going to say if they're undefeated, but Liberty was undefeated. So
Well, here's the only. So let's break it down. Do you think we'll never get a top 4? I think there's a very slim chance you could get a top 4. Very slim, and let me tell you why. Because you have to win the conference championship game. So I think the only way you can get a top 4 spot is if you have a undefeated or 12-1. Would have to be Boise State, Tulane, maybe Memphis, maybe Fresno State, like one of the schools that has done it before, right? Like has made a run before, has a little bit of national respect. And then you would also have to have it would probably be like the Big Ten, and you would have to have like a 7-5 Iowa somehow knock off Michigan or Ohio State in a championship game. That's your only chance to get a top 4, which would give you a bye. But to be quite honest with you, I just want to be in the top, what would it be, 7, because I want nothing more. I just want a home game. Yeah, 100%. I would rather have a home game than a bye week if I'm in the Group of 5.
Absolutely.
And then here's your other thing. Yeah, you mentioned it too, Jeff. Like, what you're going to get more often than not is the Group of 5 team is going to be the 12 seed, and your number 5 is going to be the loser of the SEC championship game, which is going to be freaking Bama or Georgia every damn year, and which will probably be one of the 2 or 3 best teams. And I just know it's going to work out that way. I just know it is. And then you're going to get like that 8-9 matchup is going to be like, 2 beatable. Like you'll get like a Missouri, and you'll get I don't know, like a Penn State or something like that. That's what you'll get in that game. And I would love nothing more than one of those schools to have to go to a Boise or a Tulane or a Troy or a San Marcos, Texas.
Ooh, baby.
In December. And also, did y'all see the time frame of it is horrendous. It's like the first games are going to be, I think, the second week. It'll be the week after championship weekend in December. So it'll be like December 14th or whatever it is. And then they'll play, the next round will be like the weekend before Christmas. And then you're going to have the semifinals, but then the championship game's not till like mid-January. I'm fairly certain I'm saying that right. But it's like a weird like 6-week little window of when you're going to be playing games. And all this time I was told that, we had to worry about classes and all this stuff in January, but we're going to be playing semifinal games and finals games in mid-January.
Yeah.
So
that's going to be weird. Sprouse out. We almost forgot, boys. We got a new member coming into the MAC.
Wow, we do. Well, we could have. We didn't necessarily forget
Oh, we
that
didn't
yet.
forget it, but we didn't bring it up yet.
No, we didn't. UMass.
Welcome, UMass 2025.
Yeah, that's big time. That's a big time. I mean, that's a decent brand name for the MAC. So now you got UConn and Notre Dame are the only two independents remaining. And then there's a lot of talk. I don't know who was saying it, but a lot of talk coming, kind of rekindling the Western Kentucky to the MAC flame, which I don't think Western's going anywhere without Middle. I don't think
so. I mean,
but
who knows? But
maybe. I don't know.
it's not like they're flush with cash. They'd have to pay exit and entry fees.
Yeah. Western and Middle are so similar. It's like comical. It's very comical.
I'll tell you what. So we went to the basketball game for a little
Oh,
bit.
we did. Yeah.
MTS, the 100 Miles of Hate basketball was in the Glass House in Murfreesboro. I tell you what, there was some healthy banter back and forth between myself and some of the Western Kentucky faithful. I love it though. That's what it's about.
Well, weren't you saying they finally got a Dollar General in Bowling Green?
No, they're talking
putting everybody out of business.
Yeah, they're talking trash about Murfreesboro. There's something about you live in Murfreesboro. I was like, hold on, buddy. I was like,
yeah,
I know you're not talking. You live in Bowling Green. I was like, did you guys get a Walmart yet? I was like, we got 5 of them in this town. Go look around.
Yeah, we got Kroger, dude. I mean, I will say this. Look, for as many
I
problems
actually love
as
Bowling Green.
Hey, wait, it ain't Murfreesboro though.
No, but it's a fun town.
College town. I mean, I didn't go. You guys got to go. I didn't get to go to that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good time. That was, by the way, guys. So I have my low back. I'm like hunched over because y'all know, like, so Friday I had to go to Atlanta and back. So I was in the car, well, like northeast of Atlanta to Sewanee. And so I drove up there, drove back on Friday, and then got up Saturday morning, drove to Murfreesboro. You know, we did the whole thing there, which, by the way, great event, alumni event.
Oh, yeah.
Big time deal. And then drove back. Dude, I was so tired. I stopped like the last like hour and a half of my drive. Like I pulled over like 3 times and busted out like 100 jumping jacks to try to stay awake. And then when I woke up Sunday morning, like I guess from sitting in the car, and it still hurts. My low back is like, I'm like all shifted and I can't like release it. It won't, like, I can't get it to pop. I can't.
Gotta stretch the hips, Browse.
I think it is the hip and groin area.
Could have been those 300 jumping jacks you did too.
No, I'm still. Yeah, damn it!
Could you just imagine he's just driving down the interstate? Some guys doing jumping jacks on the side of the road.
Two in the morning. 2 in the morning. I'm at a BP. You know, between Columbus and Atlanta. And if you know anything about the great state of Georgia, there's a lot of parts in between that are not like the safest. Here's me this hitting some jumping jacks on the side of the road, but made it home safe. Back hurts still a little bit, but anyway,
sacrifice.
He got to. So real quick before we go on to our celebration of 100th episode, so give me your just top of your head. Give me your top 5 most likely to get in the playoff.
Let's go.
Jeff,
first.
go first.
Top 5 group of 5 teams?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Tulane, Boise, Liberty. Past that might be tough sledding.
Is that your three? I mean, that's your top. That's
that's
pretty
my
good.
top 3. I mean, that's my top 3. I don't know. I mean, I could see if if Jeff Tedford comes back and he's fully healthy. I mean, he's been a machine over there. If they could make a good run. I don't know, Tip. Who do you got? Same 3?
Probably. I have those same 3. You could throw Memphis in there.
Ooh,
I feel like
I could see Memphis.
This is where it gets tough.
I'll give you one. Miami of Ohio.
That's where I was going. Or Toledo.
They lost.
I think
Penny
Miami.
Boone. They lost some
And
pieces.
Yeah, I like.
I'm trying to think if there can be I think an undefeated or possibly 1-loss Sun Belt team.
See, that's why I think the Sun Belt's going to eat itself. Like they.
I know. That's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm worried about. But if you get
Coastal Carolina, Chanticleers.
Come on, dude. You got to get off that bandwagon.
Picnic's gone.
Yeah, Steeple doesn't care anymore. Just kidding. South Florida Bulls. Throw them in the mix. No, I don't know. I
I
think
don't
you
know if
guys
they're
are
quite
spot
there
on.
yet.
I think Boise State, Tulane, and Liberty are your three most likely. I think Tulane's the most likely, especially because they have a decent enough non-conference. Now, if you're going to get two, it'll have to be two of those three. I think maybe Memphis you could throw in there. Like you're not going to
Yeah,
get
with Memphis beating Tulane.
Yeah, but that would put Memphis in, and then I think you would have to have either undefeated or one loss, both Mountain West and American champion. I think to get
I
in.
don't think we'll get the two teams.
I don't
this
think
year,
we will either.
But if you'd have to have a team like Boise State or Tulane or even Liberty to have. Liberty would probably have the best chance, and also probably Boise State, because we all know Boise State has been there before. But with Liberty going undefeated last year, if they go undefeated again this year, and then go undefeated or lose one game the next year, that gives them an opportunity to be an auto bid.
Yeah.
And then same thing with Boise State. If they have a great year this year, even though they would lose Genty, I think because I think he's eligible to go to the NFL draft after next season. But if they have if Boise State or Tulane have a year or two of consecutive successful seasons, that could give us an opportunity to have two teams in there.
Yeah. It's got to be a team that like has the potential to be like preseason ranked. Like it's got to be a team with a decent brand. Boise State, Tulane, Memphis, maybe. Like it's got to be. I mean, I hate to say this is the way it's going to go, but I think this is the way that the committee thinks. It's got to be a team that if, a Power 5 team is getting ready to play them in the playoffs, they would be a little nervous about it. Like a Boise State, they would be like, oh, shit, Boise, they're back. Like somebody like that. But, yeah, again, like because even if you get Tulane wins the conference, but let's say they lose to Kansas State or Oklahoma, they might not put them in.
Yeah.
I mean, they ain't got to be in there, especially if Liberty's undefeated again, conference champion. It might be the same scenario.
So we got a couple of questions here in the live chat I think we need to address. First, Joe says, boys, Sunbelt runs through Troy. I don't disagree with you, Joe. They got a lot of ground to cover. Jamie wants to know, can Liberty really repeat? I think they can, just because of Salter coming back and they lose Daniels, but they actually had a decent transfer portal and signing window, so interested there. What are your guys' thoughts on Liberty?
I just think it's going to be extremely difficult for them to go undefeated again this year.
I agree.
In regular season, it's just the pressure mounts up. You lose CJ Daniels. It's going to be difficult to do. Now they absolutely can do it, but they also play at App State.
Mm-hmm.
We know that's going to be tough. Jacksonville State comes.
That was a close game last year.
Was a close game. I think they're going to be just as good this upcoming season. They also host Western Kentucky. I don't think that's going to be an easy game either. So,
yeah, they got their early season schedule is a lot more difficult than it was last year. I mean, they go at New Mexico State, who I don't think is going to be as good, but they go at New Mexico State. They're home versus UTEP. They're home versus East Carolina, who should be better. And then they're at App. I mean, that's 4 weeks in a row, all decent games. And then, Jacksonville State, they're at Middle. I mean, Middle played them as tight as anybody did last year.
And they got to go to Murfreesboro this year.
I mean, that place is going to be
the Iron Skillet
electric, Jeff.
It's going to be cooking.
Electric. 3,700 screaming Blue Raider.
There's a little more hype around the program.
No.
We'll have 4,500. Here's the deal. Here's the other question Jamie had. He wants to know what's the USF hype about.
Sprouse, please answer. Yeah, Sprouse.
Do you not see him beat Syracuse by 50 points in the bowl game? I mean, that's number one. No, here's the serious thing about South Florida. I know I'd say it jokingly a lot, but if you look at their season last year, literally every single week, they got a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And then it finally started translating into wins. Their quarterback's a big time player in Byron Brown. He's all everything, can run it, can throw it, all that. And number one, they just hired Micah James to coach the running backs down there in Tampa, Florida, which is a big time hire. A lot of that. Alex Golish was the Tennessee offensive coordinator when Tennessee 2 years ago, everybody thought they were back. Now he goes to South Florida, and now South Florida's offense is running, and they have had great recruiting class out of high school, great portal classes since he's been there. They're just loading up with talent. That's all there really is to it. And they've got the hype. They won the bowl game, and that just is going to carry a ton of momentum going into the next season. What's up, Jeff?
No, I was just going to say, watch them come out and just be flat.
They might.
There's one thing that's for sure about the Bulls of South Florida. Nothing is for sure.
They're going to come out and they're going to go to Tuscaloosa and play Bama tight. And then they're going to come out the next week and just lay an egg is what will really happen. But no, I mean, they're loaded with talent, man. And they continue to get better. I mean, they won more games last year than they've won in like the past 5 years combined, which is not a ton of games. But then they finally, they go to a bowl and then they beat Syracuse really bad. And then top that off with recruiting class, portal class. Just got a lot of momentum.
I like it.
And I love South Florida. That's really why.
That's the truth.
That's really the truth. What else? We got any other questions in the chat, Jeff?
No, that's
all
it.
right. So let's talk about it. This is our 100th podcast episode. So we've had a couple, we've done the live shows from campus quite a few times. We've had some interviews in between, but this is the 100th version of this. So first of all, everybody that's been hanging out along the way, thank you. We love it. We love the voicemails. We love the live chat. We love the questions. We love the trash talk. But we're going to go through the three of us and just talk about a couple things, some of our favorite moments. So just overall, first one on the list here, best moment on the show or live, or it could be from the Group of Five live on campus. It could be from an interview, any of that. So go first. Tip, it looks like you have one.
I have a couple. Jesse Swagbear, he's no longer with us, but when he thought
he's alive.
I was gonna say he's alive.
Oh, no, my apologies. He is alive. He's no longer with us on the show. He is still alive, but it's when Jesse thought that atrocious was an actual word. That's a
good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. The first show that we did at the tailgate at the Charlotte Spring game with the Norbulence in the background, getting Rob and Jimmy on the show. That was our first on campus show. And I thought it was I thought the backdrop with the Norbulence back there, the tailgate, the scene, the fans, it was a great experience. One of those experiences, like when the music starts up and you hear the crowd behind you, it gave me chills.
Yeah.
That was one of those memories.
The arm hair standing up. I like it. Those are two good. Yeah, I had the atrocious written down as well. Murph, what about you?
Yeah, I had for a live show, I had Charlotte as well. I just think that was such an iconic moment for us. Just kind of going for it, doing it.
Yeah.
So that was that one. On the show, I'm going to be honest, the voicemails are always the favorite for me. We get on here and talk long enough, 40, 50 minutes. When you guys get the opportunity to call in and leave a voicemail, to me, that's what I look forward to, because you guys are honestly on it. Super sharp. You know what's going on. You're dialed in with your particular program. Like, we cover so many schools. It's hard to be zeroed in and locked in on every single school. So I love hearing from you guys. And you're also funny as hell. I mean, I just got a couple listed off here. I mean, Steeple he was a mainstay, since we started the voicemail segment. I think he was, shortly after we started it, he started calling in. App State Fanatic, absolutely hilarious.
He's he's
that
brilliant.
guy when he calls in. It's just I'm crying. It's so damn funny. Creme Brulee, Stu's Right, Zachary Branner, Terry Johnson, Zach Green, and there's a ton of other you guys too that call in. But I mean, I just can't say enough. Thank you for doing that. It's my favorite segment of the show, and it gives you guys a voice and a platform. So, as far as the Tuesday show, that's what I look forward to.
I like it. For me, best moment. This is not really on the show, but I think Zeke and the Nate Noel, the slide heard around the world, was pretty good. And then like show related. I mean, yeah, I had the atrocious thing written down. The Charlotte one. I mean, I know we had some like tech issues, but I think that Liberty show was.
I was going to mention that. I thought you were going to mention that
Yeah.
one with you putting the Joker mask on.
Yeah, that was pretty
a
good.
great one. I kind of forgot.
And there are some legendary pictures that some people like Jeremiah and some of them took.
Well, I had Liberty.
Power. Yeah,
I had that down under a different category.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Let's keep going.
I think for me, yeah, the Joker mask was epic.
The Joker mask was big time. And I would say like moment too, the meetup we did on the night before the game.
Yeah.
I know that wasn't like a moment, but that's the first time we ever really did something like that. And we didn't know. Like that's the cool thing about this whole year. Like a lot of the stuff we just were like,
let's do it.
F it. Let's just try it and see what happens. And so like,
it's like the time is now. Let's roll. Let's do it.
Careful. Best game. I'd love to start this one. It's probably going to be all of our. Well, Jeff, you actually didn't get to stay and witness this game.
I didn't. I had to go do the radio for James Madison.
Ooh, that was not a good game. Best game, North Carolina at App State, double overtime. Just every time you thought it was over, something happened. Probably the best game. Definitely the best
21
game I've
point
been
the 21
at.
point comeback by App late in the fourth quarter.
And Chase Bryce just lighting them up.
And
Noel. Then, and then in heartbreaking fashion, they miss on the 2-point conversion. That would have won it. But I mean, yeah, every time you thought that there was probably 5 times in the last like 3.5 minutes where we were like, should we go? Like, should we leave now? And we were like, no, we stay. That's what we do. That's what the group of 5 guys do. That's what all fans should do. We stay. And thank God we did. But unbelievable game. Y'all have any other ones outside of that? What you got, Jeff?
Yeah, I got a couple. The one that we went to was the Liberty New Mexico State game, the Conference USA Championship game last year. I thought that game was incredible. You got the 2 top quarterbacks in Conference USA, really, minus Austin Reed, but the 2 biggest playmakers, like going head to head, and they were like, it was like Liberty would score, Pavia would come back and they would score. It was like matching scores, and really until he got hurt. And it was just an awesome atmosphere, awesome game. And for Liberty to win it at home in their first year in Conference USA, it's just an epic moment for them. That was the one I had that all of us were together. One that I was able to travel to, MTSU on the road, beating my number 25 ranked Miami. That was probably one of my favorite moments of all time. Our alma mater goes down to Coral Gables and takes care of the Hurricanes, and just the nail in the coffin, a 99-yard bomb.
You called it.
And it was awesome. And it was great for so many reasons, because Stock had, getting so much flack that year. He goes in, has a signature win, and we're fired up. We have a great plane ride home, drinking a little Tito's on the way home. We get there fired up for the conference opener, San Antonio, in our house. Fans don't show up.
Tip, you have any other games?
I do. Yeah, I have a few. So this was one of I feel like it was one of the first games we went to as a group. It was that Thursday night App State against Marshall game where before the game, might have been the day before, might have been the day of, I don't remember, but we were talking to locals and talking to people at the tailgate and at the pizza place and other places. They're like, yeah, it's a Thursday night game, might not be a ton of people at tailgate, might not be a ton of people at the game. And we get there and it is packed. And then they have they brought in the extra stands for that one end zone. Those were packed. And then the student section on the hill, packed. I mean, and the game itself was also like a great game. And then that was the slide by Nate Noel, heard around the world,
Yeah,
as
it
you mentioned
was.
earlier, Sprouse. But a few other games I want to bring up. Boise State at Memphis game last year.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great game.
Great game. MTSU at home against Marshall back in 2021 when it
In the
was
rain.
raining
Tsunami?
in the rain. Yeah,
Yeah.
the tsunami at Johnny Red Floyd Stadium. MTSU, I believe Marshall were road favorites in that game, because if I'm not mistaken, and
I'm sure they were.
and MTSU wins that game. And then also last year, that Toledo versus Miami of Ohio game, Brent Gabbert
Great
goes out, and then Miami makes the comeback, falls short, but that was just a great MAC game that it ended up being close when we thought when Brent Gabbert went out, it wasn't going to be close, but Miami, made that comeback, and, it was a great game to watch.
That, going back to like the best moment, that celebration in the locker room after that App Marshall game
That
was
dope.
pretty damn cool. And then you guys reminded me, I guess I was at this game by myself because I just went home, but middle at FAU, and they call like a trick play to one of the linemen, catches a touchdown to win the game. And I mean, it was for bowl. I mean, they went to a bowl game after that. So that was pretty cool, because being there on the sideline, and again, man, it's like you just were rooting so hard for stock in those moments. You know what I mean? Like that's really what it was about at that point. They're like 5-6, playing to go 6-6, but so that was a pretty good one. What about just overall atmosphere? You could probably say any of the games that we just said, especially the ones in Boone. Every time we've seen App play, it's a great game. Every time. And I think they they lost to North Carolina, but they beat Marshall. Have we seen them outside of that? I went when they played Louisiana in a Sun Belt championship game. They still had the track at that point, but they won that game.
I got one for you, best atmosphere.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I had App State as number one. San Antonio, North Texas, and the Alamo Dome.
Great atmosphere.
I had that one.
I mean, that was electric being in that place. It was packed. I mean, everything sounded great. Every freaking big play, man, being in that dome, it sounded like it was 3 times as many people.
Yeah, that's a good one. Liberty.
Yeah.
I mean, in the cold rain, hour before kickoff, and the whole student section is full, and half of them got their shirts off, and they're painted. I mean, unbelievable atmosphere, unbelievable. And we were worried. I mean, that was part of the reason we had some tech issues, because it was raining, and we kind of, the weather, it was cold, it was weird. But I mean, that did not stop those fans from showing up for sure. What other Tip? You got any other ones?
Those were the 3 I had: App State, the UTSA Conference Championship game, and the Liberty Conference Championship game. But with that being said, if we didn't mention your school and we just haven't been yet, we're working on it. I promise. We're making the rounds.
Before we go to the next 2, just real quick, I didn't have it on here. Like, what about best facilities? Is it UTSA?
Ooh, man.
Might be UTSA, huh?
Really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, a lot of them are really nice. I'm trying to remember
UTSA's
which
is
one
nice,
was, like,
and you went to UNLV's. UNLV is pretty sweet.
UNLV's. It reminded me a lot of San Antonio's, to be honest. Like, the way it's set up, where you got the doors that go right out onto the practice field.
UAB's are pretty solid.
I know it was tight, but I really liked how Tulane's was laid out. Like, I know it's tight, but like everything's right there. They go right out to the practice
field.
field.
The building's just odd.
Well, and I'm a weight room guy. The weight room's a little old for my liking.
No sore necks in Tulane's.
No. I'll tell you, Louisiana's is really nice. My only reason I wouldn't put it with the other ones is the weight room is not football only. It's big, it's nice, but they all use it, which,
I mean,
who cares?
Facilities
but
were top notch.
Yeah, Liberty's freaking sweet. Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Liberty's pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Theirs is pretty good. Because their stadium too. I mean, UTSA,
It's beautiful.
but the stadium's
The
off
whole
campus.
campus,
And
yeah.
Liberty, Lynchburg, just as a whole, is pretty special.
What's
So is
cool
Boone.
is like they're so tight for like different reasons. They all have like their own aura.
That's right.
Like the Alamo Dome, to me, is like sort of historic and like it's old, but it's been kept up. It's super nice. Now Liberty and App are like you got the background, the setting, the mountains, the sun goes down, like you have all that, and then it's like I love going to catching a game at Troy. Like I love Troy Stadium. Like every
Troy's got
stadium-
nice facilities too.
Yeah, it's unique and it's like all in their own way. Tulane's stadium is awesome. It's like super nice, super new. Student section's rocking. I mean, it's just and that's what's cool about this. Like we get to go see all these different environments, these different places. They all got different stuff, and they're all tight for their own reasons.
Well, it does. It's like kind of fits the character sometimes of the city or of the school. Like the Alamo Dome would be stupid in Boone, North Carolina.
Yep.
But an open brick stadium would probably be pretty stupid in San Antonio. So like, it's kind of like that. And now you guys both mentioned Tulane. Talk about a great atmosphere. That one was too.
That was
That game against South
opener.
Alabama last year. Yeah. That was a big time atmosphere. All right. Best tailgate. What do you got? I got one that's maybe you guys might.
Well, you lead us off then.
Louisiana, Sun Belt Championship.
I knew you were gonna go there.
Lafayette. I mean, and it wasn't necessarily that it was like the most like wild or rowdy or anything. And I would say like what could be a potential negative is it's a huge lot, like so it's a little spread out, I guess. But just the hospitality, the food, all of that stuff was big time. I mean, and like that's where I first linked up with Stu and Tripp and all the App State guys. So like it kind of was like, and that was really the first year. I mean, that was the first year we started going to games because we all went to Boone, and then that game my wife and I went with the kid. But other tailgate, I would say. Hey, you guys haven't done this one either. Georgia Southern's pretty damn good. It's a pretty good tailgate. It's like, honestly, it's like Louisiana to a degree, in the same, like it's just like a parking lot, but it's quite a bit smaller, and everybody's a little more together there. Yeah. What about y'all? What do y'all got?
I got a few. I mean,
Yeah.
App State's up there. I mean, it has to be.
Yeah,
like
of course.
it's probably the best one. Just because there's so many people out there tailgating and it's so spread out.
Yeah.
And there's just so many great tailgating spots there. I really liked, and these two kind of go together. I really liked the layout at UTSA and Memphis. UTSA kind of gave off that. I think Murph, you mentioned it, like that NFL, like Raiders vibe out in the parking lot. But it's a massive parking lot, but it was all right there, and there were so many people out there tailgating. And Memphis was kind of the same way. I really liked how that was laid out, where you could kind of like rent your own little spot, and each spot had its own like plug-in. That's huge. And then you had that huge open like grass area with the big screen and food trucks and whatnot. So I mean, I like both of those. And then I got a couple more. Murph, I don't want to take any of yours, but I'm just gonna throw these out there. I liked Liberty's as well. I know that was a conference championship game, but again, like you mentioned, Sprouse, it was raining, it was cold, and there were still a ton of people out there tailgating. And I mean, the campus itself is beautiful, and has great, like it was just a great overall tailgate. And Charlotte, Charlotte,
yeah,
is
buddy,
up there,
dude. Charlotte, if you remember, they didn't. Their students were not even allowed to tailgate when we went. And
that's why I want to go back there for a regular season game to see that huge open area that
Don't
they were
get
saying
everybody
is usually
fired up, Tip.
full of the
Look,
students.
I'm high on Poachie and the boys. He's bringing them in.
You know what I want to say too, to go back to atmosphere.
You pissed off Joe, by the way.
I did. He's got the fish fry.
He said he fed you grouper, and you're damn picking Louisiana over
They
Troy.
fed me boudin and jambalaya. Let me tell you something, Joe. Joe, you need to take a trip over to Lafayette. He knows.
He said he loves
knows.
Louisiana's tailgate.
He knows.
He knows.
Is that a Donnie Trump
big
quote?
time,
Yeah.
Donnie J.
Atmosphere though too. Not to interrupt you on your stuff tip, but the Charlotte student section when we went, we had
from foes to friends.
Such low expectations for Charlotte. We really did because if you remember, we hit Boone on the Thursday night, and then we went to Charlotte on a Friday night against Middle. And we were like, well, while we're here, let's just kind of check out Charlotte or whatever. And I mean, their student section is, I would put them up against any of these other places that we've mentioned.
One of the best.
They're in it. They are about it. And their tailgate, like we didn't get to necessarily see like
we didn't get to see the full
spectrum,
tailgate, but the tailgate around the stadium was
the Normulance and Jimmy and them's tailgate.
Yeah.
That's where you know what? I'll give Joe where credit's due because Troy's entirety of a tailgate, we haven't had the full opportunity because the one time that, like Jeff, when we went, tailgate was cracking. As soon as we parked the car, it starts pouring rain.
Yeah.
But that being said, Joe and them's tailgate at the alumni house is pretty special. It is special. The first time me and Swag Bear went, somebody, it wasn't Joe, but somebody fell out of their chair, broke the chair. It was a real like icebreaker. Anyway, go ahead. Where were we at?
I think
best tailgate. What you got?
Well, you guys pretty much took them all, but a tailgate that I really like was, and I actually forgot about this one, that for like one of the best games, Western Kentucky, in their like north of their end zone, I think it's the north lot, if I'm not mistaken. It's a huge grass area, and everybody sets up their tents. Like, it's really well done. And when we went and saw Western Kentucky versus UTSA, I think it was 2 years ago, that was a hell of a game. You had, if I'm not mistaken, Bailey Zappi and Frank Harris going back and forth. And I think combined, what was it, Tip? Like, it was a ton of points. It was like over
a ton of points, ton of yards, ton of throwing the ball. It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a great game. And like the tailgate, like it wasn't like crazy packed like we've seen, but it was a damn good tailgate. And the way it was set up and laid out, I thought was perfect because it's right next to the stadium. It's right outside. Big grass area, tents. You got the alumni tent over there. You got there was like stage set up where they had their radio show. We need to get back up to Bowling Green. A lot of
what does they go to Liberty?
Yeah, I think so.
Middle goes to Western, or no? Ooh,
I can't remember.
Does Middle get both Liberty and Western at home this year? Oh, now wait a minute. Wait a minute. All right. Well, what about so best food? And when I typed this, I didn't mean like best food at the tailgate, although
I know what you meant.
Them hush puppies at Joe, them hush puppies were fire. And in Lafayette, you guys know I talk about it all the time, the roux with the deep fried turkey left over from Thanksgiving, but you got to go. That's got to be a championship weekend. Best food. We all three got to be on the same page. Pinkerton, San Antonio. Dude, to this day, whenever like in Georgia, whenever I go to like a barbecue place, like I'll be talking to like the head chef and I'll be like, you ever had Texas barbecue? Okay. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, dude, your little rib rack. You just get one rib.
Beef rib.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, man. So
that was phenomenal. Yeah, I think from a food standpoint, I'll say this. I went to El Paso 2 years ago. I had this steak, and it was like a 90-age dry aged ribeye at this place where apparently they have this special broiler where it's ridiculously hot. One of the best steaks I've ever had in my entire life. It's at the bottom of this hotel, and like right next to the border. Phenomenal. I actually really loved El Paso. We need to get down there at some point.
The people of El Paso have been active.
They have.
Should be getting Coach Walden on the show here coming up, but we're trying to work out the schedule. I'm trying to think what other food. I mean, we had some good. We had what was that place?
Was pretty good.
Dumbwaiter.
Oh
and Heroes.
Dumbwaiter.
And what was the other one you said, Tip?
Heroes, the sports bar right next to
Yeah, that was a pretty good spot.
campus.
That was a pretty good spot. What did we have in New Orleans? We had that little bar we sat at. It was those oysters were good, no?
So y'all
they
got
were.
mad at me because we had to walk a little bit, but yeah, Superior Seafood and Oyster
no,
Bar.
No, Tipton, it's
We
because
walked
you were
2
directing
blocks.
us
We
all
walked
over
2
town.
blocks.
I'll tell you what was good, and give them a shout out too, was the jerk nachos from Bruno's, where we did
Yeah.
our first ever, pregame show from Bruno's. Those were good.
Bruno's Tavern.
Lost Province Brewing Company in
That's a good
Boone with
spot.
their pizza was really good.
This would have been we
I had
have
another
some
one,
really
too. I can't remember the name of the place though. It was
what
in Fort Collins, Colorado. I went to another
I'm sure there
steakhouse
was.
in like Old Town. I mean, that's a place we got to get to too. There's so many places we got to get to. Phenomenal steak, so good. Everywhere I go, I try and find a steakhouse
Steakhouse. Yeah,
It's the way to
ain't no
go.
doubt. Well, Dumbwaiter in Mobile is a hell of a lot better than the other place that came recommended, but we don't need to throw anybody under the bus. What would have been like an awesome spot if it wasn't for we had rain. I feel like we had rain at like 2/3 of the games we went to this year, but
Felt like it.
that hangout place in Myrtle Beach was pretty tight.
That was a cool place.
Where we did a show, and we didn't eat there. We got like some freaking ridiculous mudslide or something,
Wait,
didn't we?
Conway or was it Conway?
That was Myrtle Beach, buddy.
Okay.
Long way from Conway. But that was fun too for like a best moment. That trip was a pretty
very
good time.
true.
Wives and kids get to get out there. All right. I didn't write this down either. Sorry, we gotta go. I know we gotta go. Best bar.
I knew it. I was gonna add that.
You
too.
got
I
it.
have I have it
What do
on
you
here.
got, Jeff? What do you got?
I'm just going with the entire town of San Marcos, Texas, because let me tell you, that place is a hell of a time. I can't even remember any of the bars' names. Probably
I can't either.
I don't remember much of that, but they have like this entire strip, dude. And we just went from bar to bar to bar to bar with the players, which was freaking awesome. And I can't wait to get back down there to check out the river. And I will say that rooftop in San Antonio was epic.
Yeah.
That was special.
Brick Street.
Brick Street is,
I missed out.
and all of this, of course, depends on what you're looking for, right?
Right,
Like
for sure.
If you're the kind of person that likes, River Street Ale House in Boone, probably not gonna go to Brick Street. I mean, not at night, not late, anyways. But Brick Street, even like when we first got there, it was a great spot to watch games. Great spot. And then
that
I got
restaurant was good too. We ate at.
Where did we eat?
I can't remember the name of it. Remember, it was like off that side cut street.
Oh,
went up,
we're
it was
just
like-
me and
Yeah,
Wait,
just me.
Tip.
Tip
Wait, hold
hadn't
on.
got there yet.
Yeah, Mac and Joe's or something like
I
that.
think so.
That was a really good spot. And then I gotta give a shout out to the Blue Room in Statesboro. That place rivals Brick Street. I mean, that's what. Man, everywhere's got their place, man.
They do.
Corner Bar in Lafayette, Louisiana was a good time. But bars.
Haberdasher.
Haberdasher was a good time. That was just, it really just depends on the people. Like,
Yeah.
because Haberdasher, the first night we were like,
Yeah.
not that great. But then the second night everybody's there and it's a good time. Where else? I mean,
What was the name of that place where we saw the band in
No,
Mobile?
God, Tip, that was the worst bar I've ever
No,
been to.
not the jam band. No, the one across the street.
Yeah. Like something south, I think it was called. I thought you hit that little billiards bar.
Hey,
Gotta give a
nothing beats
shout
a
out.
good jam band and billiards, man. Come on.
I give a shout out to the Boulevard Bar and Grill. in
There's no
Murfreesboro.
doubt. There's no doubt. This
Staple
place is
if you're coming to an
elite.
MTSU game.
Is that it? Is that all we got for like some celebrations
it.
here?
That's it.
So
Appreciate
So here's-
everybody, man.
yeah, no question about it. Here's what we got coming up. Should have, this is not set in stone yet, but should have Scotty Walden coming on the show in the next couple of weeks. We're trying to pin down a date and time to make that happen. But then next week, we got an interview with Jack Rasmussen of Cadix. If you don't follow them on Instagram, it's a really good follow. They make it's essentially a cleat that has a little bit of give to it. And it should help support, the players from getting as many lower body injuries as we're seeing, ACL, MCL, ankles, Achilles type of injuries that we're seeing a ton of. So Caddix has came on the scene to try and solve that issue. In the next 100 episodes, I mean, we got some things. We are working on some things. I'll just kind of leave it at that. I know that, a lot of these fans are wanting us to get to all these different schools, and believe us, we're trying. We've almost been, when we sit and talk about it, we've almost been to half of them. But, most have been in the Southeast, or at least in the South. But we're trying to get out west. We're trying to get up to Mac country again. But we're working on some things, working on some sponsorships. If you're a listener, you got, you're in a department for a company or whatever, somebody, hey, holler at us, man. We're looking to take this thing to the next level here in 2024. But thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. You boys got anything else?
Just want to say thank you, man. You guys make this thing go. If it wasn't for the listeners and the viewers and the followers on all the socials, we wouldn't have nothing.
Doubt.
So appreciate
no
you
doubt.
guys more than you know.
Yep. And, for your continued support, please tell your family and friends all about us. Tell them to go over to YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcast. Subscribe to the channel. Give us a 5-star rating and a review. Tell everybody to follow us on the socials, Twitter, X, Instagram, Facebook, at Group of Five Guys. This show live streams on all of those platforms as well as YouTube. And then, we've got all kinds of content coming out on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. That's all we got for you guys tonight. We'll catch you next week with Jack from Caddix Cleats.